Hi, hello. So, I spent $70 and got a whole lot of tech stuff. Sounds like a great deal, but there's a twist. A lot of it's untested. This is most of it. I also got like 6 cases. I got a broken gaming PC, which I've already fixed up, which was in this video, and a few other small things. But I want to see, using nothing but the bulk bits I've got here, can I build a computer? The only things I'm allowed access to are anything I got in that $70 bundle. If I need to, for the sake of building a computer, I'll grab a few parts from my spare parts list, but I want at very minimum the majority to come from the box. But I want to do an analysis, see what's actually in here, and then decide what we want to do. The very first 2 things I want to talk about are these 2 power supplies. They're both very light. We've either got a Magnum Pro 275X Power Logic 550 watt with bare bones connectors, or this one, which is a grey death trap that says on off, and what I assume to be misfire without the R or the E. Because that says misfire, quite frankly, I'm too scared to turn it on. So I'm gonna actually leave this one, especially because the power plug looks rusted enough to give me tetanus. But I'm gonna quickly chuck this on a power supply tester and see if I can get any sort of signal from it. See if we've got a power supply to work with, because we only got these 2 power supplies in the bundle. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm half worried about it spitting smoke as soon as I turn it on. So I plugged in the tester, turned it on at the back, put it on the tiles. I'm gonna turn it on at power point from a distance and hope that it spins to life and nothing goes wrong. Here we go. That would be because it was turned off at the switch. Run back over here. Get ready to turn it off again. She's spinning, she's making me nervous though. 12 volt, 12 volt, 5 volt. It seems good enough to use. She's definitely a little sketchy, but she's good enough. I'm gonna give the box a brief look over so we can decide what parts we want. We've got an Intel motherboard there. This one's an AMD one with an AMD CPU inside. It's socket FM2B. Another Intel socket, I think 1156. Another AMD. I've decided I'm probably going to use one of the 2 AMD ones, assuming that either of them works, because the power supply we've got is only 4-pin on the CPU, which both the AMD CPU motherboards have, but none of the Intel ones do. Big graphics card. I think this is an R9 280. And power supply is going to be very limiting in this, I think. Ah, wonderful. DDR3 memory. No, sorry, DDR2. 2 whole gigs of DDR2, wonderful. And some Intel CPUs. And hey! We've got some graphics cards. A PCI card of some sort with a connector I don't actually recognize. If you know that connector at all, chuck in the comments. Oh, another AMD board actually. Oh yeah, just by looking at it, you can tell it's a much older AMD board though. Do we have any DDR3 here? Any at all? I think that's compatible memory just sorted. It's either 4 or 8 gigs. Either way, I'm happy. I will admit, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this wasn't working because of just how loosely thrown it is in the bottom. What looks like an Ethernet card. A sound card. Another sound card that looks a little bit newer. It's a Sound Blaster Live. And this one looks like it's in better nick. We've got to set up our motherboard and get that ready. This yellow motherboard has an AMD Sempron in it. TLDR, she old. I don't see any visible damage on the motherboard, which is a good sign. No pop capacitors, no nothing. I don't see anything. Not saying there's not going to be anything, because I've got to test it, and to test it I've got to build it up. But I don't see anything, which I think is a good sign. We need thermal paste. Luckily, we actually got some from another box. I got this thermal paste. I'm trying to force any thermal paste I can out. I think I've got enough here. It's not an ideal thermal paste spreading, but it's probably gonna be enough. That's me thermal paste there. It ain't great, but you know what? It's something. It sure is something. Oh, actually, let's check this for bent pins at all. The fact that it was in a socket, I don't think it will. But yeah, the bottom of the socket looks fine. No, it doesn't, I lied. Quite a few bent pins under there. Uh-oh. Time to bend some pins. Okay, sadly, I was unable to bend all the pins back, but I'm hoping that there's enough non-bent pins, it should be fine. So let's chuck some RAM in, shall we? I think to test, all we need now is a power supply and a graphics card. Let's go plug it all in and get a monitor to test. Okay, it's not exactly a professional setup, but it should do the trick for now. Just for the minute. The LED is on. Loud fan, but it seems to be running. Do we get a visual signal? Ooh, that fan isn't spinning. That fan is not spinning and no visuals. No matter, we have plenty of graphics cards to try yet. The next card I tried is spinning to life, but do we have any visuals? No, we don't. Let's try another graphics card. Another new graphics card, and once again, no visuals. This time I'm going to switch both the graphics card and the RAM. I've switched the RAM, switched the graphics card. I think it might just be dead. And the sad news being, I think it's the CPU because I wasn't able to bend back the pins. So what I'm going to do is check the pins on the other CPU on that other yellow motherboard. And it might be a much older computer than I bargained for, but hopefully it runs. I see literally 0 damaged pins on this. So while I think this is definitely an older CPU, hopefully it's good enough for Windows 10. Let's chuck everything like the cooler across to this and essentially just transplant the motherboard and the cooler. You might think, why isn't there a CPU cooler on there? I can just openly touch it. That means this CPU isn't getting power either. This was DDR2, so it wasn't even a powerful machine. But neither of these two are working. So the next plan is that I'm going to have to take out this power supply, switch it out for another one, and try the Intel boards, because I think I've got some CPUs over there for the Intel boards. But sadly, both of the AMD boards are dead. That's kind of one of the main problems with buying so much like bulk untested stuff. A lot of it's just not going to work. Oh well. This VGA port is blue. Okay, so it's been a few days because I had a few things on, but I've now got a cooler and a power supply that aren't from the bulk lot, so that I can try the Intel boards. 3 boards in total, 2 CPUs. Let's hope one of them work. First Intel board here, it's an Asus Windows 7 ready, wonderful, with an Xeon in it, X3450, LGA1156. We've got another LGA1156 here, which I didn't realize actually is 4-pin. So if this one ends up working, we might be able to try the other power supply. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I might actually try this motherboard first. I might try this motherboard first, then try that one, then try the last one, which has an i3 2nd gen. Okay. I've got it all rigged up here. If I just short the power switch, the fan spins to life and very rapidly despins. And then respins. Do we get a visual? Come on, I'm holding out hope. Oh, we've got LED lights. We've got LED indicators. These are the first LED lights. These are the first LED lights we've had. And literally every one of them is on. Oh! Oh my god, wait, we've got a system! Yeah! But we've got at least one working system, which means that all we had to switch was the power supply and the CPU cooler. We might be able to switch this back. I'll try the other power supply. And I actually did get a CPU cooler, but I've already used that in a different project in this video. And so while this one I got for $3 on Gumtree, while it's not a part of the bulk lot, I did get one in the bulk lot. This just isn't it. But let's quickly switch it back to the other one. Our other power supply, the bomb one, is now hooked up. So if I just short the 2 pins, she spins to life. Do we still get a visual? Yeah, we do. We do. I'm gonna run this one instead of that one, if I can. Yep, it's working. So let's try this MSI one. Now I just gotta chuck it into a case, which I got a fair few. I got a fair few cases. I got 6 cases with this. So I've got to just choose an ATX one. And I'm thinking the only choice is this one because it's the biggest one. Oh my god, we've actually got an IO shield too. I just found it. Let's go. Okay, let's open up this case, shall we? So, I've got the motherboard in the case and the power supply. I've switched out the DVD drive because this had 2 DVD drives already in it, but one of them was IDE. Luckily, the bulk lot came with more SATA drives, so I've now got 2 SATA DVD drives in there. I've got to chuck in the hard drive we got in this bundle and the graphics cards. I didn't get any SATA cables, so admittedly I'm going to have to just use my own of those. Because there's no because there's no slot covers here, I have a plan for that. It's not a good one, but it's a plan. I'm essentially going to put as many accessory cards in as I can. Okay, the machine is officially built up. Graphics cards here. And now I didn't have any other slot covers for the other PCI slots, so I just filled them with cards. Ethernet card, audio card, this one. I haven't seen that port in a long time. And just another graphics card. I allowed myself one zip tie that I didn't get in the bundle. The only thing in this PC that I didn't get in the lot was 3 SATA cables. That's it. But I've got to boot it up, make sure it still works, and then hopefully install Windows on it and do some benchmarking. I will admit though, I don't like that it doesn't have any chassis fans. There's only the fans actually in there, which is a little bit alarming. But for a system of this power and age, I think it should be fine. Especially because the side panels have a fair bit of ventilation and the case is pretty good at ventilation. Should be fine. Wouldn't recommend it, but should be fine. I've got it set up, plugged into power. Let's turn on the power supply. Oh, we've got indicator LEDs already. It doesn't like the button, but it doesn't like the power button for some reason. The hard drive's showing up. I think it's the DVD drive that's dead, which I'm not that fussed about. So I think we have a fully operational system. For some reason, it doesn't like the power button, but apart from that, I think we're good to go. I'm gonna try and sort out the power button though. I've got it up and running an Xeon's X3450, 4 cores, 8 threads, 2.66 gigahertz. I actually switched out the kit of memory for the other 2 DDR3 sticks that there were, because that's 4 gigs total. That's 8 gigs total. Hard drive, which is the one we got in the bundle, is definitely the bottleneck. So ideally I put an SSD in this thing, but I can't for the sake of the challenge. I might once the challenge is done. I'm still getting graphics drivers, but let's download some benchmarking tools. Okay, I am now having issues with the computer and running Windows. It just keeps crashing. I'm doing a full reset of Windows. I have learned that I'm running both a GT240 and a GT430. I think actually the bottom one's a 430, so whoopsie doopsie, but oh well. This isn't actually a bad machine. So for some reason, Windows keeps crashing even after a hard reset, which means one of 2 things. One, we've got a faulty hard drive, which I don't think is true, because I'd be surprised we're getting into Windows at all. Or 2, either the CPU or the motherboard is faulty. I don't think it's the RAM. You have to switch a few things around to try and get it to work. Okay, it took a fair bit. Okay, it took some tinkering, but the issue is the RAM, which means sadly we do have to run with 4 gigs, but I think it's all working. So after a little bit more tinkering, this graphics card is now out, and the other one is now in the top slot, because that is a GT430, that is a GT240, and I, for some reason, couldn't get the drivers for this, so the 430 is in the top slot. All things considered, the CPU is actually pretty good. If I chucked a good graphics card in here, a little bit of extra RAM, and an SSD, this wouldn't be a bad little gaming machine, but we didn't get that in the bulk lot, so what can you do? I'm trying to do some benchmarking, so I'm booting up 3D Mark. I tried to run Night Raid, and the system just kind of said no. Let's try CPU profile, because that's admittedly the standout of this build. It was worth a crack, but it did not work. You know what, let's try running some games. So I ran a few games, and with one of them being Doom, because I figured it would run it, which it did at like 80 FPS, there was no issues, but I figured there's no harm in running it. I have had computers struggle with it before, but this one's very CPU bound, and our CPU is fine, so it was fine. I also ran Human Fall Flat at like 8 FPS. It was not good. It ran, but it was very low frame rate. And finally, I tried to run Sea of Thieves, but it never even got past the loading screen, no matter how long I waited. My final little summary for this machine is it's got potential. This CPU is actually pretty good. 4 core, 8 thread, but like everything else from the graphics card to the RAM to the hard drive needs an upgrade before it can be actually a productive machine. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. As I'm a small creator, it would help out a ton. Comment down some of the best tech deals you've gotten before. I'm curious what you've gotten. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.